Hey, welcome to John's Dungeon Corner. We are live from the Collective Studio, and with me is my co-host, the skeleton, Draculich, skeletal dragon. That's Harry back there, by the way. Don't make him angry because he keeps looking at me like he's hungry. Not a good thing. But anyway, so today we are going to talk about feats and skill sets and skills. Okay, I got them marked right here in my player's handbook. Here's what I will say. Everybody handles. I think I want to. Let me see. Well, let's talk about skills. Okay, I'm gonna talk to you about skills directly. Basically, each one of your ability scores, which are basically your strength, your dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, they have a set of skills that are associated with them, and the skill checks are based off of them. Hey, William, how are you, sir? Good to see you. You're the first one in. Good to see you. We're talking about skills and feats today. And for all of you, no one's on yet, but when you see this, William is the creator of 47 Tales and the module series that has the Glen Fallon. I call them the Glen Fallon series. And hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Don't want to embarrass myself in front of William. But if you haven't checked out either one of those, it's a must. That's a John Dungeon's Corner what do they call it? A must-have. 47 Tales, the comic book, and Glenfallow, the series of modules. It's a must. And I think one's coming out soon. So make sure you look at those. So back to skills. Okay, so and each attribute has, each ability score has its own. So strength is athletics, dexterity has acrobatics, sleight of hand, stealth, intelligence has arcana, history, investigation, nature, and religion. Wisdom has animal handling, insight, medicine, perception, survival, and charisma has deception, intimidation, performance, and persuasion. What that means is anytime you do a skill check, so let's say that I am going to flip off a wall, that is going to be handled by an acrobatics check. And acrobatics are under dexterity. So the dexterity modifier will be added as long as it's a proficiency. You'll also get your proficiency bonus. So, and that'll be on your character sheet, but that's what the skills are used for. It's a lot of it has to do with out of combat scenarios, such as, take for instance, I'm going to go check a treasure chest to see, hey, is there a trap in there? Okay, so what I'm going to do is at that point is I'm going to use my perception or investigation. Depends on how the DM wants to handle it. And there's actually explanations of each. And I would probably use perception. So the thief is going to be looking, and I'm going to check the chest. Okay, great. It doesn't have any. All right, well, is it locked? Oh, it's locked. Doggone it. Okay, so now I need to make another skill check. I'm going to disarm the trap. Now that's going to be a sleight of hand. And so now sleight of hand is also based on dexterity. So once again, I roll and I add that. Okay, it'll depending on the score needed, the DC roll. Then of course that'll determine whether it was a success or a failure. If I have thieves tools, then that also helps with that disable device or unlock at this point because there was no trap. And then it opens. Of course, I open it. Oh wow, look, treasure, cool. Lots of dice. No. Anyway. But that's the way skills work. Whenever you're trying to do something outside of combat, usually, and I say usually because in the example that I used earlier of jumping off the wall and doing the flip and landing, that was an acrobatics check. And this is, once again, everything that I say is basically based on how I use the rules. It's my interpretation. It's how I like to use it. No, it's every DM. It's up to them to interpret how they want to use the rules because the rules are guidelines, as Gary used to say. But anyway, so let's say you're in combat and you've got this really dexterous acrobatic rogue and he wants to do a parkour move. So basically he's standing behind the fighter's in front of him. He wants to run he wants to jump onto the wall, jump off of it like a parkour move, land behind the orc and stab him. That's a really cool maneuver. And it is Dungeons and Dragons, so why not? I mean, I've seen people do that in real life. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So give me an acrobatics check. And the reason I'm having an acrobatics check, now I could go and say, okay, let's do a athletics check first to see if you jump up on the wall high enough and all that. But no, since I know his better chance, his better attribute is dexterity, I'm gonna say, give me an acrobatic. I want to see him succeed in this. Okay, so give me an acrobatics check. He rolls. Okay, here we go. We rolled. Oh, boy, that's pretty good. Okay, so we jump up there. He bounces off. He lands it. Oh, my God, it was gorgeous. So at this point, he rolled to see if acrobatics. He did really well in his acrobatics roll, and I'm going to reward him for that because that's kind of ingenious. So I'm going to say, okay, you see his character. You guys see, let's just Jaliel hit the wall running. He flips over, does a beautiful parkour move, and lands behind the orc. Okay, you're going to have advantage on this attack. Even though he has advantage, I'm going to give him advantage. Even if, let's say that the fighter wasn't in front of him, I would still give him advantage. Hey, Steven, how you been, bud? Good to see you on there. Yeah, I miss it all too myself, Steven. I miss it all. Good to see you, bro. So I'm going to give him advantage on his hit because it was perfect. Now, I might even give him a bonus damage. It just depends on how well he succeeded. But by the same token, let's say he had failed horribly. I might sit there and say, wow, you're instead of advantage, I would sit there and say, yes, sir, we will. I'm going to tell him you have disadvantage. Of course, he may have advantage because the fighter was in front of him, so now it cancels out and he just rolls normally. So there's a lot of things you can do with that. And it's all about role playing. Some of your characters are going to come up with some really cool stuff, and you just have to, sometimes you have to look at the skill checks and see where it kind of falls in because not everything is covered. It's not perfect, but the neat thing is it's a great frame. It's a great foundation. It has a great framework that you can work with it. So now let's talk about feats because that's what I really want to talk about, skills and feats. A lot of people were asking, well, what about, don't the feats also kind of give you stuff for your skills and your bonuses? So let's talk about going up a level. Okay. When you arrive at 4th level, you get a lot of choices for your character. As you go along the way, you get more abilities and bonuses to your character. But at 4th level, that's that first pivotal level where once you get to it, now you make some choices for your character. Do I put a skill point into 2 different abilities? So you can boost your, let's say, your dexterity and your wisdom if you're a rogue, your strength and your constitution if you're a fighter. Okay, but let's say that's not what you want to do. I want to put both points into a skill, into one of my attributes: strength, intelligence, dexterity, wisdom, charisma, constitution. Okay. Or if your DM allows it, now remember, this is up to your game master and your dungeon master. I'm going to sit there and take a feat, bypass the other options, and take a feat. And what the thing of feats is, each one is different. It's unique. Okay, and I'm going to use one of these that is going to give you a lot. It incorporates a lot. And then you're going to see how this actually works out. Okay, so let's say that in my game, I allow feats. And somebody, a bard, for instance, this would be really good for a bard. Let's say a bard wants to take the actor feat. That's the name of it. It's not a skill. It's a feat. And here's what it does. You are skilled at mimicry and dramatics. You gain the following benefits. So it increases your charisma score by 1. So you still get an increase of 1 to your charisma. So that's huge. Okay, you have advantage on charisma, deception, and charisma performance checks when trying to pass yourself off as a different person. This could be really good for a rogue also. So basically what it does is now, anytime that I try to perform as a bard, I play my musical instrument and I'm playing my lute and I'm performing in front of nobles. When I make my check to see how well my performance is, I'm going to get advantage, which is huge because I'm going to get to roll 2d20. And look at that. I got a 16 and I got a 5. So I'm going to kick out that 5 and go, ha, ha, ha. My performance was 16 plus whatever my bonus is. Let's say that my charisma is probably going to be a +4, +2, I think +3 at this point. So I have a +7 to that die roll. I just performed at a 23. It's amazing. I have enthralled my audience. They're going to be clapping. They really dug the story. that I told, or they loved the way the music sounded, whatever it may be, they loved it. It's going to be an exceptional performance. Okay. And so that was huge. Then you can mimic the speech of another person of the sound or the sounds made by other creatures. You must have heard the person speaking or heard the creature make the sound for at least 1 minute. A successful wisdom insight check, contested by your charisma deception check, allows a listener to determine that the effect is fake. So that all goes in there. So I get a lot of abilities. First of all, I got a +1 to my charisma. I got advantage on both deception checks and performance checks to pass myself off as a different person. Oh, that's okay. So anyway, and I incorporate this differently. So if you were an actor, I mean, in this case of a bard, like I was saying, at this point, it's basically allowing you have advantage when you're trying to deceive somebody or pass yourself off. But in a bard's case, I would, like I said, if they did a job, a really good job, they're an actor, they're a performer, I would give them the advantage on that. A feat is a big deal. It can make your character. It's a great boost to your character. And let me explain what I do. And this is just what I do. When someone gets to that point, which is 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20, they get this choice. And what I'll do is I'll say, I have a little list that I hand to everybody. I say, okay, look, guys, you're at 4th level. Here are your choices. And what I do is, you can split. You can take an attribute point in 2 different attributes. You can put 2 points into 1. You can choose a feat. We'll talk about it. And usually by this point, I've already talked to my characters at 3rd level and said, listen, next level, you're going to be getting feat. Let's talk about what kind of feat that you want. Because when I do that, because feats are they're strong. They really enhance a character's abilities in a game. I always want to talk it over with them and tell them, okay, well, this is the way this is going to work. Here's how I'm going to incorporate this into my campaign. Because sometimes they get this notion of what it does. And, it's your world. Maybe you can come together and say, hey, let's use it this way. This is the way it's going to work. Okay. So it's always good to talk to your players as to how their character and how this feat is going to work with them. Secondly, or fourth, I allow them, and there's no real way of boosting skills other than through your attribute. So basically, the most that an attribute will get, not that I've read, there may be something in another book that I haven't read, and if I'm wrong, then somebody, you can email me, or excuse me, email me at my email address, and let me know, or you can see me here at the collective, or just come on next time and let me know. But there's really not a way to upgrade your skill levels. So what I do is, instead of the 2 proficiency points, I will allow them to take either 1 point in a skill, or put 2 points into a skill. So that way they can learn a new skill. This way they're not stuck with just, you'll see these characters that have 4 or 5 skills, and here they are at 16th and 20th level, and they still only have 4 or 5 skills. Because I don't see anywhere, not even in the feats really have I seen where you get any new skills. Lightly armored is one that would give you a new proficiency, but not a skill. Also, there's lucky. I mean, there's a lot of them, and you have to. Let me pick another one. All right, so let's see, one that's kind of neat. Oh, here we go. All right, let's take mobile. Oh, resilient. Okay, here we go. This is a really good one. Resilient. Choose 1 ability score. You gain the following benefits: increase the chosen ability score by 1 to a maximum of 20. Your skills can never, your attributes and now cannot go over 20. And you gain proficiency in saving throws using the chosen ability. So what that does, that's big, because that does 2 things. A, you get to choose any ability. And let's say you're deficient in something for whatever reason, and you want to increase it a little bit. So you go, okay, well, I'm a fighter, but my charisma, I really would like a little bit more charisma. So you go charisma. I'm going to use charisma now as my example. I'm going to choose charisma as my ability score that I'm going to gain resilience in, and it's going to go up by 1. And I now get a proficiency. I now have proficiency in saving throws with it. What that means, that's huge, because anytime now as a fighter that someone's trying to deceive me or con me or uh, influence me in any way, I would make a charisma saving throw. Well, since I'm not proficient in it, I would just get my charisma um, as my plus. And if let's say my charisma was a 13 at that point, so I'd only get a +1. But now with my +1 in it, my charisma score is not 14, so I get a +2. And because I'm proficient in it at 4th level, let's say I would get a +3 because that's my proficiency modifier, my proficiency. So now I have a +5. So that 1 that I had originally, because of this, I'll show you how strong it is. I had a +1 because I was at 13. Being at 14 gave me a +2. And now because I'm proficient in it, I get another 3 because I'm 4th level, and that's my proficiency modifier. I have a +5. So I went from +1 to +5. That's huge. That is huge now with charisma saving throws. Okay. So that's how strong some of these feats are. Some of them are even better. And I say better, let me say they're different. Depending on what type of character you're trying to build, some of these skills are awesome. And some of them are like, okay, cool. It just depends on what you're trying to do with your character. And there's not a lot of them. I think in alphabetical, there's like 3 pages of them, 4 pages. But here's another one. Athlete. You have undergone extensive physical training to gain the following benefits. Increase your strength or dexterity by 1 to a maximum of 20. When you are prone, standing up uses only 5 feet of your movement instead of half. Climbing doesn't cost you any extra movement, and you can make a running long jump or a running high jump after moving only 5 feet on foot rather than 10. That's amazing. So once again, you get the increase of an attribute and you still get some benefits. As you can see, feats are pretty strong. You don't have to have them as a game master. You don't have to have them. I definitely don't advise. I don't think it's a good idea for beginning dungeon masters and game masters to incorporate them right away. And you can always, and here's the neat thing about the game. Let's say, okay, I just started out as a game master and I'm running a campaign, and they get up to 4th level. You know, at this point, I'm not ready to really introduce the feats because I'm still kind of getting the hang of things. I'm just now getting that flow in the campaign. It's really nice. What, Harry? Oh, okay, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll talk to you in a little bit. But anyway, so you're getting that flow going. Harry, I'm talking. Hold on. Boy, these guys in their psionics are crazy. Anyway, Harry, if you keep that up, we're just gonna have to get a different co-host. All right? Okay. Thank you. All right. Anyway, he made me lose my train of thought. No. Anyway, so we're talking about the campaign. So now they're about to get to 8th level. I've gotten the hang of things. I've had 7 levels of raising the characters' levels. I've put together my campaign. I feel confident in the way it's moving. I feel comfortable with the mechanics. So I go, okay, you know what, guys? When we get to 8th level, I'm going to allow you to, if you want, go pick one or the other, because I'm still not positive it's something I want to put in the campaign, but every other opportunity. So at 4th, at 8th, you can choose, or if you choose at 4th, then at 12th, at 8th, and 16th, you can choose a feat. And let's just kind of blend them in slowly and see how it works out in the campaign. So see, now you're going into uncharted waters. You're going into some new territory. The players are like, wow, we get to do something cool. They may choose to just leave their character the way it is. But if they choose, let's say at 8th level to, take a feat, then you open up a whole new world to them. It is going to make them a little bit stronger. You just have to make sure that you balance your monsters back out, and that's easy. I mean, another hit and die, a little bit more damage. I don't know about giving them. Some of them have, like goblins, have that expeditious retreat ability, or I keep calling it. It's basically they can hide or disengage, and That's really that's almost like a feat if you think about it, because they get to choose either or. They get to attack and then disengage, or attack and then go hide. That's really neat, I think. What? Yeah, I know, I know. Well, we're not going to talk about that. They're not ready for Draculiches and Dragons yet. No, not yet. Soon, soon, my friend. Okay. Anyway, the neat thing about it, hey, Jason, all I got is feet and Skittles. Can I play? Absolutely. Bring your feet, let your feet do the walk in, and bring your Skittles and we'll share them. Good to see you, man. No, we're talking about skills and feats. And I was just going over the feats. Like I said, skills are based on your attributes, and feats kind of enhance characters. And like I was saying, at 8th level, you incorporate them. And then you might go, okay, so if you get them at 8th, I'll let you pick another one up. We'll see how it goes, and I'll let you pick up another one at 16th. And for those of you who don't want a feat now, you still have 12th and 16th level, whatever, depending on how long the campaign is going to go on. The campaign that I'm currently running at home is probably going to be an epic campaign, so I'm going to keep running it as long as there are players. It just started, like I said, a couple weeks ago. We're going to run another session here in about another 3 weeks. So it's only like once a month, every 6 weeks, 7 weeks kind of campaign. So it's going to be going for a while, real time in the game. It'll probably take about 2 or 3 sessions to get through an adventure or two, and then we'll go from there. But I will probably be allowing feats. I think that they're good. It just depends on the reason that a character is getting the feat. You can just give them out. I always like to have a purpose to everything that I do. Even when I put magical items into the game, they have a purpose. It makes no sense to give a guy who's a rapier fighter a +5 battle axe. Well, he's not going to like it. You know, you got to kind of make sense of things sometimes. Put round pegs into round pegs, square pegs into square pegs. Although if the square is big enough, you can put just about anything in it. Just saying. But I like for a character's background to kind of determine also which way they're going. And they're writing their story as they go. Remember that. This is a game that they start at 1st level, and they're eventually going to get to at least 20th level or wherever your campaign is going to take them. And you want them to have fun. You want to have fun. It's a two-way street. You know, this shouldn't be work. It should be something that you enjoy, have fun with. You can put as much work into it or as little as you want. You can follow a storyline out of one of the great modules that are available, like Glen Fallen, or you can kind of change it and tweak it a little bit and make it personalize it. You know, no one ever gets upset when you take their work and make it and personalize it to you. You might change things in it. You know, I have a world map that I've drawn up. Some of the modules that I have, I make up. Some of them I just love and I incorporate in there. I might change the name of the town that it's happening at and the area where they're going to, or the name of the dungeon or something to fit my world. But the work's there. And it's really neat when you can do that. And sometimes the characters go, oh, I remember this. And that's great. You know what? They could have, it's like I always say with my Bard character is awesome. Because my Bard character, I've always loved to sit there and say, you know, the DM will say, you know, I wonder if I've ever, so I'll do like a history check, but I'll go, I wonder if I've ever heard about that or read about that. Maybe I heard a song or a ballad about it. You know, I could have sworn I heard about it in a tavern. So I make my die roll, you know, and oh, wow. So, you know, it may be good, it may be bad. And I'll go, you know, and he'll go, well, you remember that tavern that you were at about a month ago? They were talking about a dungeon that sounds oddly familiar, you know, and so through that conversation, he allows something that I know, and it may be only bits and pieces, but it's just kind of neat that you take that and you kind of mesh it together. And then by some other tokens, people will go, no, this is the way we're going to do it, and that's just the way it is. Nobody knows nothing about it, and that's that. And that's okay, too. There's no right or wrong, okay? Every game master does it differently. Just like every rogue in the Dungeons and Dragons universe is not played the same. They're not all similar. And even though they may work with the same kind of skill sets, they work them and they act differently. Okay. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. So that's what I'm going to stick to. And if you're wondering, the feats start on page 165 of the Player's Handbook. And all the skills with each attribute with strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, and charisma start on page 175. And they go through every one of the skill sets underneath their particular attribute, and you can read it for yourself. If you ever have any questions, Wednesday night is the night to be here for Dungeons and Dragons night here at the Collective. There's tons of game masters and dungeon masters that will happily answer your questions, get you into a game. Every once in a while, we do a beginner's day where Antonio and I and other dungeon masters come and we sit down, and it's for the beginners to learn how to play the game. And you'll see us use both the starter set and the essentials kit. And sometimes you'll make a character, sometimes you have a pre-made character, and just dive right on in and start rolling dice, because that's what I like. Dice, and more dice. Look at 20, a 16, and a 4. And since I have advantage on the Game Master, it was a 20! Anyway, with that being said, as always, may the roll rise up to meet your feet. Harry would like to wish you all happy adventures, and may you never run into a Dracolich when you're looking for a goblin.